Hello, everyone. Sorry, it's not working. Um, the Tanakh tells us in the book of Ecclesiastes, Kohelet, chapter 1, verse 18, that Yosef Dat, Yosef Machov, that when a person has more knowledge, it will cause them pain. There's many, many different interpretations of this verse, but one of the interpretations is in the Talmud in Brachos um, Daf Mem, which is that a baby does not know how to say Abba and Ima, father and mother, until they eat bread, and that's why Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is that the Etz Hadat, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, was wheat. The other opinions are um, grape, vineyard, and te'ana, the fig, because uh, right afterwards it says that Hashem made Adam and Eve these loincloths out of fig leaves, which are very big, and sometimes there's even such advertisements in the fashion world today for underwear. And the maybe the most amazing opinion is etrog, that the citrus fruit that we use on Sukkot was Etz Hadat, the tree of knowledge, and it's because it's such a perfect fruit, as discussed in Tractate Sukkah. But back to the idea of wheat, another statement of the Talmud is that only after the baby starts eating bread does their feces really smell bad. Before that, it's either none at all, as we'll see today, or just slightly, but not without the bread component. Um, there isn't a smell, and the explanation of the people who commented on the midrash is that because the bread was a punishment to Adam, that he's going to have to sweat of his brow to produce bread from wheat. That's why it also smells, because it's basically telling us, here's a manifestation of that punishment to have the smell after a baby starts eating bread. Even this past Shabbat, we had a baby who couldn't even eat the crust, but was given tiny little pieces of challah, and so I think that this is absolutely correct. So, feces of young infants do not smell that bad, and therefore it does not have the status of excrement. We learned yesterday that you're not supposed to pray in a place where there's feces. When a child reaches the age that he can eat a kazait of cereal grain within a shiur achilat pras, a time it takes to eat half a loaf of bread, which is approximately 6 to 7 minutes. And by the way, that halacha is also applicable for the Seder night, where we're supposed to eat the kazait of matzah within that time. One must distance herself from the excrement as she would from an adult's excrement. Some write that this starts at 1 year of age. Speaking sacred words near a baby's feces is only permitted in extenuating circumstances. In the Chatchila, it is better to distance oneself from the excrement of even a week-old baby when speaking sacred words. So basically, if you are holding a baby during davening, which we said already is allowed as long as they're clean and not distracting in terms of screaming or crying or whatever, then if suddenly they go because they don't really have control over when they go to the bathroom in their diaper. That's what, so according to Rav Melamed and many other achronim, it is actually appropriate to stop the amida and to continue after changing the baby, because we are not allowed to continue praying next to a baby with such a smell. So, when praying near a baby, at least 1 year old, who is still in diapers, one should first make sure that no foul odor is present. If there is foul odor and it reaches the person praying, she must stop her prayers, even, like I said, the Amida, However, as long as the child does not smell, she may pray near him, for even if he did defecate, since the feces are covered in a diaper and clothing and there is no scent, it is not forbidden to speak sacred words near the baby. When a woman is in the middle of the Amidah and her child comes to her with a dirty, smelly diaper, she may not continue praying. By the way, there's also such laws about regular adults who are in the Amidah. The Gemara in Brachos talks about if a snake is wrapped around their feet, they should not stop the Amidah. And by the way, that's also good advice in biology, because the minute you scare the snake, they might bite. If you're just standing still as if you are a piece of wood, then they probably won't bite you. But anyway, we'll get back to the baby. So, if someone else can take care of the child, she must signal with her hands that they should distance the child from her, and then she can continue her prayers. However, when no one else is present to care for the child at that moment, she should, if possible, place him in a crib or in a different room where he can play until she completes her prayer, meaning that you take a break but without talking, and just carrying the baby to that other room. If no such option is available, for example, if the child is crying and requires her attention, since she is prohibited from continuing to pray anyway while the baby is next to her, she must stop praying, clean the child, change the diaper, and wash her hands. She should try to return to her prayer as quickly as possible, because if the interruption is shorter than the time it takes for her to recite the whole Amidah, which I said actually somebody yesterday is about 3 minutes. She may continue praying from the place where she stopped. If in her estimation, however, the interruption lasts longer than the time it would take her to reset the entire Amidah from start to finish, she must begin the Amidah from the beginning, because we already said that a woman doesn't have the obligation to say the blessings or Ashrei before the Amidah, and therefore there's no problem of Smichat Gula Tfilah. And if a soiled child approaches a woman while she is reciting a short bracha, she should distance herself from the baby into a place where the odor cannot be smelled, and then finish the blessing. If she is reciting Birkot HaMazon, which takes more time to say, and she cannot distance herself from the baby long enough to complete all 4 blessings of Birkat HaMazon up to Lo'olam Alechasrenu, because the baby is crying and she needs to pick the baby up to calm the baby down. Since she cannot continue her blessing anyway while she smells his excrement, she should clean the baby, change the diaper, wash her hands, and continue from the beginning of the blessing at which she stopped, because that also sounds almost like a time-bound mitzvah, and therefore, even though it's biblical to say Birkat Hamazon after the meal, we are allowed, according to the Torah, not according to the rabbis, to stop in the middle and continue from there, because the idea is to thank Hashem for the food, and to thank Hashem for bringing the redemption and building the temple. B'mhera b'yameinu. We'll stop here and open up for questions.